Picture Jesus on the night before he fed 5,000 people with 5 loaves and 2 fish. The crowds are looking for him. The disciples are waiting. Everyone expects him to appear and begin the spectacle, but he is not with them. Matthew chapter 14 verse 23 tells you exactly where he is. He went up on a mountainside by himself to pray, alone, in silence, away from every voice, every expectation, every demand. And when he finally came down, he multiplied food in a way that defied every law of physics. Now picture him before raising Lazarus from the dead. His friend has been in the tomb for 4 days, the body is decomposing, the sisters are weeping, everyone is waiting for Jesus to arrive and do something, but he does not rush, he does not perform on demand. John chapter 11 shows him withdrawing first, praying alone, connecting to something beyond the visible crisis, and only after that solitude does he speak the words that pull a dead man back to life. This pattern is not coincidence. This pattern is not optional. This pattern is the secret that modern Christianity has completely forgotten. Before every single miracle that shifted reality, before every moment of supernatural power, before every demonstration of divine authority, Jesus did the same thing. He went somewhere quiet first. But here is what nobody preaches. He was not just praying in the way you were taught to pray. He was not reciting requests to an external God. He was doing something far more precise, far more powerful, and far more accessible to you right now than any sermon has ever told you. If you are watching this because something is about to shift in your life, if you found this video at a moment when you need a breakthrough, comment the words, "I am ready for the miracle." And subscribe right now because what you are about to learn will completely change how you access the power that Jesus demonstrated. This is not theology. This is not religion. This is the mechanism, the actual method, the thing he did in the quiet that made the impossible become inevitable. Right now, place both hands on your chest. Feel your heartbeat, feel the rise and fall of your breath. This is important because your body is about to recognize something your mind has missed for years. Every major miracle recorded in the Gospels follows the exact same structure. First, withdrawal. Second, silence. Third, alignment. Fourth, manifestation. The church taught you to focus on step 4. They built entire denominations around the spectacle of manifestation, healing services, miracle crusades. Loud prayers shouted into microphones, but they skipped the first 3 steps entirely. And without those steps, without the thing Jesus did in the quiet, nothing supernatural happens. You just have noise, you have performance, you have people trying to force something that only comes when you stop forcing. Let me take you into the wilderness. Mark chapter 1, Jesus has just been baptized. The heavens have opened. The voice of the Father has declared his identity. Everyone expects him to step immediately into public ministry. But the Spirit drives him into the desert. 40 days, no food, no water, no distraction, total isolation. And the text tells you something most preachers skip over. He was with the wild animals and angels attended him. Stop right there. Angels attended him. Not before the wilderness, not after the wilderness. During the wilderness, in the silence, in the solitude, in the space where no human voice could reach him, that is when heaven opened its resources, that is when the supernatural became accessible, that is when the alignment happened that would fuel 3 years of miracles. The withdrawal was not preparation for the power. The withdrawal was the access point to the power. Think about the last time you tried to pray for something important. Maybe you needed healing, maybe you needed provision, maybe you needed a situation to shift that seemed completely impossible. What did you do? If you are like most people, you prayed harder, you prayed louder, you added more words, you asked other people to pray with you. You tried to build momentum through volume and repetition. And when nothing changed, you assumed one of 2 things. Either you did not have enough faith or God said no. But what if the problem was not your faith? What if the problem was not God's willingness? What if the problem was that you never stopped talking long enough to connect to the frequency where miracles actually originate? Take a slow breath in through your nose. Hold it for a moment, now release it completely. Let your shoulders drop. What I am about to share is not metaphor. This is the literal mechanism that Jesus used before every major demonstration of power. And once you understand it, once you begin to practice it, the things you have been begging for will start to happen without you begging at all. Before Jesus raised Lazarus, the text says he looked up and prayed. But if you read the words of that prayer carefully, something very strange appears. He says, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this for the benefit of the people standing here." Stop, read that again. I knew that you always hear me, past tense. The connection was already established. The alignment was already complete. The miracle was already done in the invisible before he ever spoke it into the visible. The prayer he prayed out loud was not the real prayer. It was the announcement. It was the declaration of what had already been settled in the quiet. Now go back further. Where did that settlement happen? In the silence, in the withdrawal, in the place where no one was watching and no one was waiting. That is where the power was accessed. That is where the frequency was tuned. That is where the impossible became inevitable. Here's what the church does not want you to understand. Miracles do not happen because you beg correctly. Miracles happen because you align correctly. And alignment does not happen in noise. It does not happen in crowds. It does not happen when you are performing for an audience or trying to convince God of your worthiness. Alignment happens in the same place it happened for Jesus. Alone, silent, withdrawn from every voice except the one that matters. Let me take you to the feeding of the 5,000, John chapter 6. The crowd has been following Jesus for days. They are hungry, they are demanding, they want to make him king by force. And Jesus, knowing what they intend, withdraws again to a mountain by himself, not to rest, not to escape, to align, because he knows something you were never taught. The miracle is not in the doing, the miracle is in the tuning. And you cannot tune to the frequency of supernatural provision when you are surrounded by the frequency of human demand. So he goes up, he goes alone, he goes quiet, and after that withdrawal, 5 loaves become enough to feed thousands with 12 baskets left over. The multiplication did not happen when he broke the bread. The multiplication happened on the mountain in the silence. The breaking of the bread was just the manifestation of what had already been established in the invisible. Now let me show you why this matters to you right now. You have been praying for something, maybe for months, maybe for years. You have asked, you have believed, you have declared, you have fasted, you have sown seed. You have done everything the preachers told you to do, and still nothing has shifted, not because God is withholding, not because you lack faith, but because you have been trying to create a miracle in the same environment where miracles cannot form. You have been trying to force alignment while surrounded by distraction, obligation, noise, and the expectations of everyone around you. The breakthrough you need is not going to happen in your current frequency. It is going to happen when you do what Jesus did, when you withdraw, when you go somewhere quiet, when you stop talking and start tuning. Place your hand over your heart again, feel it beating. That rhythm has sustained you through every moment of your life, but there is another rhythm trying to reach you, a frequency that does not come from your body, a signal that originates beyond the material world. And the only way to access that signal is to remove yourself from every other frequency competing for your attention. Jesus did not perform miracles on demand, he performed miracles on alignment, and alignment required withdrawal. Every single time, before he walked on water, Matthew 14 tells you he sent the crowds away and went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. Alone, in the dark, in the quiet, and after that withdrawal he stepped onto the surface of a storming sea and it held him. The laws of physics bent, not because he tried harder, but because he tuned deeper. Before he healed the blind man in John 9, the text shows him moving away from the crowd. He spat on the ground, he made mud, he worked in silence, no announcement, no performance, no build-up, just alignment and action, and sight was restored. Before he cast out the demon that the disciples could not cast out, Mark 9 shows him explaining why they failed. This kind can come out only by prayer and fasting, not more volume, not more effort, prayer and fasting, withdrawal and alignment. Silence and tuning, that is the mechanism, that is the access point, that is the thing nobody preaches because it does not fill stadiums and it does not generate offering plates. Here is the part that will change everything. The quiet place Jesus went to was not just a physical location, it was a frequency, a state of being, a vibrational alignment that he accessed by removing himself from every other signal. You can go to a mountaintop and still be full of noise. You can sit in a prayer room and still be vibrating at the frequency of fear, doubt, and human striving. The withdrawal Jesus practiced was not about geography, it was about frequency. He withdrew from the frequency of the crowd, he withdrew from the frequency of expectation, he withdrew from the frequency of performance, and in that withdrawal he tuned to the frequency where the Father operates, the frequency where all things are possible. The frequency where dead men wake up and blind eyes open and 5 loaves feed thousands. Now let me give you the method, not theory, not inspiration, the actual steps, the thing Jesus did in the quiet that you can do right now. Step 1, physical withdrawal. You must remove your body from the environment of distraction, not forever, not for 40 days, but for a dedicated window of time where no voice can reach you except the one you're tuning to. Turn off your phone, close the door, tell the people in your house that you are not available. This is not optional. This is not extra credit for super spiritual people. This is the access point. No withdrawal, no alignment, no miracle. Step 2, mental withdrawal. This is harder than physical withdrawal because your mind will follow you into the quiet. Thoughts will come, worries will surface, your to-do list will scream for attention. Do not fight the thoughts, do not try to force them away. Simply notice them and let them pass like clouds moving across the sky. You are not your thoughts, you are the awareness that notices thoughts, and in the quiet you begin to remember the difference. Step 3, emotional withdrawal. This is the step most people miss entirely. You can be physically alone and mentally still, but if you are emotionally entangled with the problem you are trying to solve, you are still in the wrong frequency. Fear is a frequency, desperation is a frequency, anxiety is a frequency, and none of those frequencies produce miracles. Jesus did not go into the quiet carrying the fear of failure. He went into the quiet carrying the certainty of connection. You must release the outcome. You must let go of the demand. You must stop trying to force the miracle and instead tune to the source of all miracles. Step 4, vibrational alignment. This is where the power is. Once you are physically withdrawn, mentally still, and emotionally released, you do one thing: you tune, not with words, not with requests, not with begging or bargaining. You tune the same way you tune a radio. You adjust your inner frequency until you lock onto the signal that is always broadcasting, and you will know when you have found it because something in your body will respond. Your breathing will deepen, your chest will warm. A peace that makes no logical sense will settle over you. This is not emotion, this is alignment. This is the frequency where miracles form. Step 5. Declaration. Only after alignment do you speak. And when you speak, you do not ask, you do not beg, you do not plead with an external God to maybe consider your request. You declare from the place of alignment what is already true in the realm where all things exist. Jesus did not say, "Father, would you please consider raising Lazarus if it is your will?" He said, "Lazarus, come forth." Command, declaration, the announcement of what was already settled in the invisible. This is not arrogance, this is alignment. When you are tuned to the frequency of the Father, you speak as the Father speaks through you, not your words, His words, not your will, His will, not your power, His power expressed through your human form. Let me tell you what happens next. The first sign is the silence will stop feeling empty. It will start to feel full, charged, alive, like the air before a lightning strike. The second sign is time will shift. Minutes will feel like seconds, or seconds will feel like minutes. You will lose track of the clock because you have stepped into a different dimension where time does not operate the same way. The third sign is knowing will come. Not thoughts, not ideas. Knowing, a certainty that bypasses your rational mind and lands directly in your gut. You will know what to do, you will know what to say, you will know when to move. And that knowing will be so clear, so undeniable that doubt cannot touch it. The fourth sign is peace in the storm. Whatever situation you brought into the quiet will still exist in the physical world, but it will no longer have power over you. You will look at the impossibility and feel calm, not because you are pretending, but because you are aligned with the one for whom nothing is impossible. The fifth sign is the manifestation will come without force. You will not have to chase it. You will not have to manipulate circumstances. You will not have to convince people or push doors open. The miracle will unfold naturally, easily, inevitably because it was already done in the invisible before you ever saw it in the visible. Now let me warn you about what will try to stop you. The moment you commit to this practice, resistance will come, not from God. From the system that benefits from your powerlessness. The enemy of your soul does not care if you pray loud prayers in public. He does not care if you attend every church service and quote every scripture. But the moment you begin to withdraw into the quiet, the moment you begin to access the frequency where real power flows, he will send everything he has to distract you. Interruptions will come. Emergencies will arise. People will suddenly need you. Your phone will ring. Your mind will flood with reasons why you cannot do this right now. This is not coincidence. This is confirmation. The fact that resistance comes proves you are doing something that threatens the system designed to keep you powerless. Do not fight the resistance. Simply notice it and return to the quiet. The signal is always there. The frequency is always broadcasting. Your only job is to keep tuning back. Jesus faced the same resistance. The crowds demanded his attention. The disciples questioned his withdrawal. The religious leaders criticized his solitude, but he withdrew anyway, not because he was antisocial, not because he did not care about people, but because he knew something they did not. The miracle they were demanding could only come from the place they were preventing him from accessing. So he withdrew. Again and again and again, before every major demonstration of power, before every reality-shifting moment, before every miracle that made the impossible inevitable, he went somewhere quiet first. If this teaching has activated something in you, if you feel the pull to begin practicing withdrawal and alignment, comment the words, "I withdraw to align." Not for me, for yourself. Let other people who are ready see your declaration and know they are not alone. Like this video so others who need this method can find it. Subscribe and turn on notifications because the teachings that are coming will take you even deeper into the mechanics of supernatural power. You were not born to beg for miracles. You were born to operate in the frequency where miracles form, and that frequency is accessed the same way Jesus accessed it. In the quiet, in the withdrawal, in the place where no voice can reach you except the one that matters. The breakthrough you have been praying for is not going to come from praying harder, it is going to come from tuning deeper, and tuning requires one thing: silence, solitude, the willingness to go somewhere quiet first. Before you ask for the miracle, before you declare the breakthrough, before you expect the manifestation, do what Jesus did. Withdraw, align, tune to the frequency where all things are possible, and watch what happens when you stop talking and start connecting. The miracle is not in the noise, the miracle is in the quiet, and the quiet is waiting for you right now. I want to speak directly to something that will happen within the next few days after you begin this practice. You will experience what I call the threshold moment. This is the point where your old life and your new life intersect, where the frequency you have been operating in meets the frequency you are beginning to access, and in that moment you will be tempted to go back, not because the new frequency is not working, but because it feels unfamiliar. Because the old patterns, even though they did not serve you, were at least predictable. The threshold moment is when you have tuned deeply into alignment, felt the peace, experienced the knowing, and then stepped back into your normal environment where everyone around you is still operating at the old frequency. They will not understand the change in you. They will ask questions. They will pull for your attention. They will try to drag you back into the noise because your silence makes them uncomfortable. It reflects back to them what they are avoiding in themselves. Do not let them pull you back. The disciples did not understand when Jesus withdrew. The crowds did not understand when he refused to perform on demand. The religious leaders attacked him for his solitude, but he knew something they did not. He knew that the greatest gift he could give to anyone was not to meet their demand in the moment. It was to access the frequency where real solutions form, and sometimes that meant disappointing people in the short term to serve them in the long term. You may need to do the same. You may need to say no to interruptions. You may need to protect your quiet time with the same ferocity that a mother protects her child. Because in that quiet, the miracles are being formed that will change not just your life but the lives of everyone around you. Here is what I want you to understand about the mechanism itself. The withdrawal and alignment process works whether you are a Christian or not, whether you believe in Jesus or not, whether you have any religious framework at all. Why? Because it is not about religion, it is about frequency. It is about the fundamental law of the universe that like attracts like. When you tune your inner state to the frequency of abundance, abundance is attracted to you. When you tune to the frequency of healing, healing is drawn to you. When you tune to the frequency of divine order begins to arrange circumstances in your favor. This is not magic. This is not wishful thinking. This is physics operating at the level Jesus understood and operated from. Every major spiritual tradition on earth has discovered the same mechanism independently. The Buddhists call it meditation. The Hindus call it yoga and pranayama. The Sufis call it dhikr. The Taoists call it stillness. Different languages, same frequency, same access point, same result. The reason I framed this teaching through Jesus is not because Christianity has a monopoly on this truth. It is because Jesus demonstrated it most clearly and most repeatedly in recorded history. He showed us the mechanism in action over and over. He proved that the method works. He proved that withdrawal produces alignment and alignment produces manifestation. But the mechanism itself is universal. It is available to you regardless of your beliefs. The question is not whether this will work. The question is whether you will commit to doing it, whether you will protect your quiet time, whether you will face the resistance and keep returning to the silence anyway. Whether you will trust that in the invisible realm something is shifting, something is aligning, something is being formed that will eventually appear in your visible world. Now let me address the practical challenges you will face. First, the challenge of time. You will tell yourself you do not have time to withdraw, you are too busy, too many responsibilities, too many people depending on you. But here is the truth, you do not have time not to withdraw. Every minute you spend in the old frequency trying to force solutions through effort and manipulation is a minute you are not accessing the frequency where solutions form naturally. The busier you are, the more you need to withdraw. The more pressure you are under, the more you need to silence. Jesus knew this. When the demands were greatest, when the crowds were largest, when the expectations were highest, that is when he withdrew most, not less, more, because he knew that the work that mattered most was not happening in public. It was happening in the silence. Second challenge, the skepticism of your rational mind. Your mind will tell you this is not real, that you are wasting time, that this is too simple, that there must be something you are missing. Your rational mind is good at solving problems within the material world. It is excellent at logic and strategy and calculation, but the frequency of miracles does not operate through logic, it operates through alignment. And your rational mind cannot access alignment, only your intuition can. Only your inner knowing can. Only the part of you that is connected to something beyond the material can access that frequency. So when your mind tells you this is not real, thank it for trying to protect you and then return to the quiet anyway. Silence your mind and listen to the knowing that emerges beneath it. Third challenge, the fear that nothing will happen. You will sit in the quiet and wonder if you are doing it right. You will doubt whether anything is actually shifting. You will compare your experience to what you think it should be like. And in that comparison, you will break alignment. The quiet is not about feeling anything in particular. It is not about having a specific experience. It is about tuning. And tuning happens whether you feel it or not. Sometimes the breakthrough comes immediately after you exit the quiet. Sometimes it takes days or weeks for the manifestation to appear in the physical world. But the alignment is always instantaneous. The frequency shift is always happening. Trust that. Trust the process even when you have no evidence that it is working. This is the faith that moves mountains, not belief in a doctrine. Faith in the frequency. Faith in the alignment. Faith that what you are settling in the invisible will eventually appear in the visible. The fourth challenge is maintaining consistency. You will do this practice once or twice and feel amazing. Then life gets busy again, interruptions come, the old patterns reassert themselves, and you stop. Then something difficult happens and you remember this teaching and try again. But real transformation does not come from sporadic practice, it comes from commitment. From deciding that this is not something you do when you feel like it or when you are desperate. It is something you do every day. The same way Jesus went to pray before every major manifestation, you must withdraw before expecting major shifts. This is not negotiable if you want consistent results. The frequency must be accessed regularly, like tuning a musical instrument daily, like exercising consistently, like watering a plant every week. The consistency is what maintains the alignment and keeps the signal strong. What you have been given in this teaching is not a technique to add to your collection of spiritual practices. This is the fundamental principle that makes all other practices work. Prayer without alignment is just noise. Fasting without withdrawal is just deprivation. Speaking declarations without tuning is just affirmations. But withdrawal followed by alignment followed by declaration, that is power. That is the mechanism Jesus used. That is what changes reality. And now you know it. Now you understand why the miracles happened. Not because Jesus was special in a way that you cannot be, but because he understood the frequency and accessed it consistently. And you can do the same, right now, today, in the next hour if you choose. So here is what I am asking you to do. Do not just watch this video and feel inspired. Do not just comment and like and subscribe and think you have received something. Do the practice tonight, tomorrow morning at the latest. Find 30 minutes, put your phone away, remove yourself from distraction, and begin to tune. Do not expect anything, do not force anything. Simply sit in the quiet and allow yourself to shift into alignment. Feel your heartbeat, feel your breath. Feel the frequency beneath the noise, and when you emerge from that quiet, notice what begins to shift. Notice the synchronicities, notice the unexpected opportunities, notice the way things start to flow, notice how the resistance begins to soften. This is not coincidence. This is the inevitable result of alignment. This is what happens when you do what Jesus did. I want to leave you with one final image. Picture yourself 6 months from now. Picture the breakthrough you have been praying for, picture the healing, picture the provision, picture the door that opened, picture the relationship that shifted, picture the opportunity that appeared seemingly out of nowhere. Now ask yourself, how did that happen? The answer is alignment. Somewhere in those 6 months you withdrew, you got quiet, you tuned to the frequency where that miracle forms, you aligned with the source. And from that alignment, everything else followed naturally. That future is not hypothetical. It is available to you right now, not in the future, in this present moment, in the frequency you tune to today, in the silence you enter tomorrow, in the alignment you practice this week. That breakthrough is not coming to you, it is forming through you, and it begins the moment you stop talking and start listening. The moment you withdraw, the moment you align. The moment you tune to the frequency where all things are possible.